Hello, before we get into our 2002 World Cup deep dive, I completely forgot to give you the answer to the teaser from 1998, when I asked who is the only other player other than Rigobert Song to be sent off in 2 World Cups. The answer is, of course, Zinedine Zidane in 1998 and 2006. Make sure to tell everyone you know that this podcast exists and support us at ko-fi.com/World Cup of World Cups, and also, buy my book about board games, 101boardgames.com. Now let's get into the knockouts.
It's the World Cup of World Cups, Episode 17, Part 2, The Knockouts.
Like, you would just have to have a bag that is full of heroin.
Yeah.
You're allowed, 20 kilos? You can't have a third of that be heroin.
No, I'm 90% diarrhea right now.
Pick me, boss. I voted for you.
Also, I'd like to apologise on behalf of the poor community. We're not all bankrupt.
A mealy-mouthed apology.
Yeah.
If anything, Rivaldo looks like Gary Wilmot.
Do I dare to dream?
It was weird because I had no hopes for this game, and then England stupidly gave me hope.
That's it. They always do that.
I mean, that's one way to not have to deal with a puncture.
There's a sort of Final Destination theme to a bit of this World Cup, isn't there?
I'm sure you make a beautiful meal. I'm sure you dance a lovely tango, but you're not as good as a professional, obviously.
Get the press together. I'm drinking a Pepsi. Into the second round, which kicks off with Germany-Paraguay. A tedious game until the last 2 minutes, when a massive punt from Oliver Kahn finds itself to Oliver Neuville, who scores, and then Robert Acuna punches Michael Ballack.
I mean, we've all wanted to. If you're going out of the World Cup, you might as well just be like, do your bucket list things. Punch Michael Ballack, do a bungee jump.
Which means no more Jose Luis Chilavert at this World Cup. He scored 8 goals for Paraguay, including 4 in qualifying for this tournament, and 67 goals in his career, including a hat-trick.
That's ridiculous.
He missed the first game of this World Cup due to suspension because he spat on Roberto Carlos.
There's a lot of spitting going on in the 90s and early 2000s at the World Cup.
Is it the era of spitting?
How I will now remember all these tournaments.
Chilavert once received a suspended prison sentence for attacking a physio.
But the physio was managed to get away because Chilavert was all greasy. They just...
Yes, slid out of his grasp, yeah.
Their sub-goalkeeper, Riccardo Tavarelli, was nicknamed Lettuce Hands.
That's not a good nickname. Even if you've got it for something other than goalkeeping, that's not a good nickname.
Sounds like a curse.
Yeah, that's what loses you in Quidditch. Just
Lettuce Hands.
Anyway, to the Denker Big Swan.
Which the Queen owns.
No, don't be silly. She's dead. It's the name of the stadium where England played Denmark.
I remember this match. Oh, yeah. We watched it around Sandy Pritchard Gordon's house, and I got told off for showing off because I cheered too much. By the time they got to the third goal, they said that I shouldn't be that excited because the match was, kind of a done deal.
Do they not really understand anything?
I was 17 and a lot. It was good though, wasn't it good? Remember that? Oh.
Yeah, Denmark had been really good in their group, and I thought, this is going to be a tough game.
Yeah.
And everything. And it wasn't at all. It was
walkover.
If anything, too easy.
Yeah.
Sandy Pritchard Gordon, Scottish.
No, very posh.
Rich posh English basically means owns Scotland.
Yeah, that maybe that was what was going on. Yeah.
The first goal happens when a corner is swung into the box. Rio Ferdinand heads it into Thomas Sorensen, who just pushes it over the line.
Oh, does it count as an own goal?
Well, it's down as being a Ferdinand goal. Rio Ferdinand was picked in 4 World Cup squads, but only played in 2 of them. After he retired, he announced he was going to become a boxer. The British Boxing Board of Control said, no, you're not. So
you need to do at least some training. Didn't he do it was like a TV prank show. He was pranking like his mates from the England squad, and then some of them didn't really work as pranks, but they were like, he'd jump out of a car and go, you got murked, and everyone was like, what? Gary Neville's staring at him going, what? Just had a quite awkward conversation with the parking attendant, and then you're telling me I've got murked.
Rio's World Cup wind-ups.
Yeah.
which is what it was called.
Is that really what
Yeah.
it's called?
Yeah, in 2006, since the Germany 5-1, there was a certain amount of fondness for the England team.
Yeah.
But by the time 2006 rolls round, all that goodwill has just gone.
Right.
Because of things like Rio's World Cup wind.
And how
And
did we
really,
do in,
win the World Cup before you do stuff like that, please.
or at least make a final? How did we do in Euro 2004?
Knocked out by Portugal in the quarterfinals.
Oh,
I was
God's
on
sake.
penalties
I
as
remember.
well.
Yes,
penalties.
I remember. You can't do Rio's World Cup wind-ups if you've been knocked out by Portugal in the quarterfinals.
But to be fair to Rio Ferdinand, he wasn't at Euro 2004, if you remember.
Oh.
Mr. Drugs Test.
Was that a wind-up as well, was it, Rio?
Yeah. Good one, mate. You got us.
He's the executive producer of the 2008 film Dead Man Running, starring Danny Dyer and 50 Cent.
Oh, and it's pre-EastEnders Danny Dyer as well, so you can't even go. But Danny Dyer is good.
Together at last, Dyer, Cent. But he has also won a BAFTA, so...
For that? Or for World
not
Cup
for that.
Wilders?
Welcome.
No, for a documentary he made about bereavement.
Okay, well now I
Oh,
feel bad.
okay, right, yeah. that was probably quite good.
The second goal, scored by Michael Owen, very much the English Dmitry Sachev. That's his first World Cup goal since that goal.
Right.
And then who gets the third?
Is it Heskey?
It was Heskey.
Was
yes.
it?
What celebration does he do when he scores?
Oh, he does the little DJ.
Oh, the DJ!
I remember that, yeah.
Emil Heskey has two middle names. I'll tell you the first one is William, and I'll tell you the second one begins with I. What do you think it is?
Inktober.
Inktober.
Yeah.
No.
That's all it is, Inktober.
Is it going to be something mad like Ivanhoe?
It is Ivanhoe.
Ivanhoe!
Emil William Ivanhoe Heskey. All those goals happened before half-time, and in the second half, nothing.
So then we all just went into defence and relaxed.
They'd taken advice from your friend Sandy Pritchard-Gordon and just
Calm
went,
the fuck
you're
down.
doing too much now. Come on now.
It's showing off.
He's going to have a heart attack.
Senegal beats Sweden 2-1. Henri Camara gets both goals, including a golden goal in extra time.
Oh, I hate golden
'Cause
goal. I get so stressed watching football anyway that when they introduce golden goal, it's just like, I'm 90% diarrhea right now. Can't handle it at all. I'm so glad it doesn't happen anymore.
Quite often, if there is a goal in extra time, that usually means there's going to be more. Either extra time goes to 0-0 and is very boring, or it goes really interesting and there was loads of goals.
So Sweden are out. They had co-managers, Tommy Soderberg and Lars I'm bringing Lagerbäck. Lagerbäck would later go on to coach Iceland to quite a famous win over England.
That very painful moment for me. And
Yeah.
indeed all of us, but I remember thinking, this is a low point. This is worse than 2010.
Lagerbäck would get 30 votes as a write-in candidate in the 2016 Icelandic presidential election, which is about 17% of the electorate in Iceland.
Yeah. There were probably 3 players from the national squad in that little group.
So, pick me, boss. I voted for you. Spain play Ireland. Spain take the lead after 8 minutes. In the second half, Damien Duff dives for a penalty, but Ian Hart misses it.
Oh, yeah.
Oh.
Not the actor Ian Hart. I should point that out. Not Professor Quirrell from the first Harry Potter movie. Not him. But worse than that, Kevin Kilban, the rebound comes to him and he just slices it and it goes wide. So Ireland are staring down the barrel of elimination when in the 90th minute, Fernando Hierro is penalised for basically trying to undress Niall Quinn.
Oh, right.
Pulling
He's
out
a
his clothes.
sexy man. Who wouldn't?
He wanted to see his disco pants. So Ireland get another penalty, and this time Robbie Keane takes it because, it's Robbie Keane, their top scorer, and he scores it, which sends it into extra time. So even though golden goals are a thing, extra time is goalless. Spain, due to injury, are reduced to 9 men.
And still Ireland can't go round them.
Yeah, this sounds like it was Spain's deserving to win this match.
So it goes off to penalties. Juan Fran and Valeron both miss for Spain, but Holland, Connolly and Kilban also miss.
God.
So Spain are through and Ireland are out. This is the last time Ireland play in the World Cup to date. They have a World Cup record of 1-2, drawn 8, lost 3. The captain of Ireland was Steve Stan Staunton.
That his middle name is Stan.
No, his nickname was Stan. He played for Aston Villa and Liverpool twice. He kept yo-yoing between them.
He just loved driving on the M6, that was it.
When he becomes the Ireland manager, not long after this, he is threatened outside a hotel by a man with a replica Uzi. We mentioned Ian Hart missing the penalty. His uncle is also in the Ireland squad.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, his uncle was Gary Kelly, who also played fullback for Leeds, as did Ian Hart.
Keeping the job in the family.
Yeah, it's total family business. Wow.
At certain points, the stereotypes about Irish Catholic families are true.
Yeah.
Gary Kelly is friends with Nicky Byrne off of Westlife. Jason McAteer, who'd scored the goal that got Ireland to the World Cup. There's an old joke about Jason McAteer, which is, Jason McAteer is so dumb that he once asked for a pizza to be cut into 4 slices instead of 8 because he wasn't that hungry. Apparently that's true. Jason McAteer's autobiography is called Blood, Sweat and Jason McAteer.
That's good. That's really good. That's almost as good as the Pam St. Clement who played Pat Butcher. Her autobiography is called End of an Earring.
Richard Dunn is in the Ireland squad. No one has been sent off more times in the Premier League or scored more own goals.
What an accolade.
And Lee Carsley, the current England under-21 manager, is in the Ireland squad. He was born in Birmingham, but he qualifies for Ireland. And his son plays for the Manhattan Jaspers. The big CONCACAF derby, USA against Mexico. Ooh. But of course it is the second round of the World Cup, so Mexico lose.
Oh, yeah.
Goals for the USA are scored by Brian McBride, who is the first American to score at 2 World Cups. And goes on to be America's top scorer with 30 goals in 96. And the player who is voted best young player of the tournament, Landon Donovan.
I remember that guy.
Yeah, he gives the US their first ever World Cup knockout win. He's the strategic advisor to Lincoln City.
I advise you to have a strategy.
He's a part owner of Swansea as well.
Wow, this guy got his finger in a few pies.
His son is called Talon.
Oh dear, no, I'm not having that.
Talon.
Like an eagle has. That's a terrible name for a boy.
Mexico are out. Their squad featured German Villa, which of course is a holiday home in Boltenhagen. Rafael Marquez, nicknamed El Kaiser.
Because he was at German Villa.
He was the first Mexican to win the Champions League against Arsenal in 2006. This is his first of 5 World Cups where he'll eventually play 19 games, but no more than that because Mexico never get beyond the second round. In 2017, he was sanctioned by the US government for links to a drug trafficking organisation, but all charges have been dropped.
Mysteriously, after a load of brown envelopes went in the post.
Brazil played Belgium, in which Mark Wilmots heads a perfectly good goal, which is disallowed for no reason by the referee and character from Wacky Races, Peter Pendergrast.
There's a lot of that in this World Cup. Just have the referees say why they're not goals. Have a flag or a signal that says that was because of shirt tugging or because of offside. Or
as much as I think VAR has huge problems with it, watching the World Cup from 2002 has made me go, yeah, we need VAR.
Gotcha.
Because
Right.
the refereeing is no good. Loads of things happen for no reason. Decisions are baffling. You know, we talked about the encroachment, which is just an epidemic. And you go, well, at least VAR would have got rid of those. And then, we'll try and iron out the problems with VAR. 2 second-half goals from Rivaldo and Ronaldo give Brazil the win over Belgium. The Rivaldo one looks absolutely amazing until you watch the replay and see that it took a massive deflection.
Oh.
How did it curve that much in the air? He must have put some... came off a shin.
Belgium squad, Mark Wilmots, who I keep mentioning, nicknamed Das Kampfschwein, which is the war pig, and he's also known as the Bull of Dongelberg.
If he ever needs to have a metal band, both of those are decent names. I know who Mark Wilmot is, but every time you say him, the picture in my head is Gary Wilmot.
Gary Wilmot.
Yeah.
They don't look similar.
No, I don't.
If anything, Rivaldo looks like Gary Wilmot.
Yeah.
This is his 4th World Cup. He's Belgium's top World Cup scorer. At half-time in the Brazil game, the referee apparently apologised to him for disallowing the goal for no reason.
Well,
I think something's going on.
It makes you wonder, bearing in mind the World Cup this year is in Qatar, how are they going to fix it for Qatar? You probably can't put that in, can you? But I had been thinking about this because there was funny old things going on in that 2002 World Cup. I remember at the time people talking about that.
I mean, we'll get on to the South Korea's miracle rise to the...
to the semi-finals. Yeah, how
miracle is pushing it.
I've got some opinions on that. We'll get to that in a minute. Wilmots was elected to the Belgian Senate in 2003, but resigned 2 years later. He'd also managed Belgium in 2014. Also in their squad was Daniel van Boyden, nicknamed Big Dan. He was the first Belgian to win the Champions League when he won it with Bayern in 2013. His dad, Franz, was a popular Belgian wrestler who once fought giant haystacks. The British wrestler Giant Haystacks, named after that most terrifying of things, a haystack.
Yeah, a really big one.
During a brief spell at Man City, along with Jamel Belmadi and Vincent Vuoso, Van Boyden was the victim of a theft by two bank workers who were both called Paul. They stole £358,000, and the footballers didn't notice the money was missing.
Then it's not a crime. I mean, it is still a crime. What, were they just going in and just like saying, oh, yes, I will put that in your account, wink?
Surely Man City are paying people by backs at this point.
I can't understand how you'd be able to think you'd be able to get away with it if they're not coming in with just bundles of 50s.
Do you think Man City pay people with cash?
Probably not anymore. I think you get a big barrel of oil and then you...
Do you think if they're a bit short, they put coins in? Saying to Kevin De Bruyne, so we've got to make it up with pound coins, is that all right? And he's like, that's fine, I'm going to the arcade anyway. I think it's just a sign of how much money Man City were giving to players that, frankly, no one can remember ever playing for them. That they can lose £358,000 and not notice.
Also, I'd like to apologise on behalf of the Paul community. We're not all bankrupt.
A mealy-mouthed apology. Japan played Turkey in Japan, and it's a bit of a shock when Turkey win 1-0, which means one of the hosts is out, but the other hosts, South Korea, are playing Italy.
They'll definitely lose. Italy are a great team.
Italy, who are without Nesta and Cannavaro. South Korea fans hold up cards spelling out, again 1966.
What?
That's when North Korea beat Italy.
Oh.
That is
not South Korea. It's a different country.
Yeah, it's a different Korea. And weird that they're like, yeah, we like North Korea now.
There are a lot of Italians on YouTube who have posted many, many, many videos about this game, and about how it is a conspiracy and the worst thing that's ever happened in football. Do bear in mind that Italy rigged the 1934 World Cup final. Just bear that in mind. I went through the highlights of this with a fine-tooth comb and a jeweler's eyepiece, and I would like to present my findings.
Okay.
So after 5 minutes, South Korea are given a penalty, and it is a penalty.
Okay.
Right.
Justified.
Okay. But Ahn Young-won's shot is saved by Buffon, so they don't score. Christian Vieri heads an opening goal, and that's all fine. Mm-hmm. In the second half, Kim Tae-young elbows Del Piero in the penalty area, but nothing is given. So that's a bit dodge. But that kind of thing happens loads in the 2002 World Cup because the refereeing is not very good.
Yeah.
But Totti had already been yellow carded for doing pretty much the same thing to a South Korean player in the first half. So you do wonder about consistency, but that's
this emoji,
that happens a lot.
Hand on chin emoji.
With 2 minutes to go in the game, Seol Ki-hyun capitalises on an error by Christian Panucci to equalise. So the normal time game finishes 1-1.
Nothing wrong with a goal against Panucci there.
No, it's a defensive mistake and South Korea score, and it's fine. In 1996, Christian Panucci was about to board a flight from New York to Rome, but they told him his baggage from his connecting flight had been delayed, so he rebooked a later flight. The flight he was supposed to take exploded shortly after takeoff, killing everyone on board.
Whoa.
So he'd had his run of luck.
You used it all on one flight.
Yeah.
In the last minute of the game, Christian Vieri misses an absolute sitter that would have won it.
Ah, really?
Which is not a conspiracy.
No.
It's not a conspiracy if your striker misses an easy chance.
I don't feel like that sometimes.
Yeah.
Christian Vieri is in on it. He's in on the grift, presumably. So it goes to extra time, where, of course, the golden goal is a thing.
Yeah.
South Korea have a bunch of chances, including an amazing free kick by Hwang Sun-hong, where he runs up, side foots it from 20 yards underneath the jumping wall. So he just, on the basis that the wall's going to jump, I'm going to side foot it underneath it.
Amazing.
But Buffon makes a full stretch save, so It would have been amazing, but he doesn't score. Then Francesco Totti gets his second yellow for diving.
Right.
The kind of dive that wins Michael Owen penalties.
Okay.
So he's off. Potentially that's contentious. The first yellow card, he elbowed someone, that was fine. The second yellow is for diving. It is a dive, but you've seen them given.
Oh, we've seen a lot of dives that don't even win a free kick.
Then Damiano Tomasi has a goal disallowed for offside. It's incredibly tight whether it's offside or not. It's the kind of thing that VAR would disallow because they'll have measured it to within a millimetre. But the flag goes up immediately, so the Koreans just all stop.
Well, then, yeah, fair enough.
Tomasi, by the way, is now the mayor of Verona.
Okay, well, it all worked out.
He's the actual mayor of Verona, not like Preben Elkiar. This is a lovely thing. When Tomasi was the head of the Italian PFA, he arranged for all player fines to go to charity.
Oh, that's very nice.
That also should have been happening already.
Yeah.
Gattuso has a chance with 5 minutes to go, but Lee Woon-jae saves brilliantly from him. And then the man who missed the penalty after 5 minutes, Ahn Young-won, heads the golden goal and Italy are out. And there's nothing wrong with that goal.
Right. To be honest, like this match sounds like it's kind of a relief because so often you hear about England went out to Iceland. We all saw that happen. Yeah. Sometimes a team goes out to a team that shouldn't have beaten them on paper. It happened.
So I remember this being a whole, but yeah, if it's just one disallowed goal and the linesman flags immediately, then that's...
Yeah, so the Italians cry foul. But other than the Totti second yellow card for diving and the missed stray elbow.
Yeah.
Is that enough for a conspiracy?
It wouldn't be if it was like Italy-France or something. No one would have blinked an eye.
The referee, Byron Moreno of Ecuador, was heavily criticised, as you can imagine, by not only the Italians, but Sepp Blatter, who's sticking his oar in.
Oh.
And later that year, Moreno was suspended for 20 games for timekeeping errors in an Ecuadorian league game.
Wow.
Did he make them play for another 3 hours or something? I don't know what went on there.
Yeah.
And in 2010, he'd plead guilty to smuggling 6 kilograms of heroin through JFK Airport.
That's a lot. I don't know.
It's not for personal use, is it, that much?
No.
Like, you would just have to have a bag that is full of heroin.
Yeah.
You're allowed, 20 kilos? You can't have a third of that be heroin.
No. You'd have to wear the shoes you're going to wear for your whole holiday on the flight. You got one pair.
2 shoes, both of them made of 3 kilos of heroin.
The guy who scores the winning goal, Ahn Young-won, had been the first South Korean to play in Serie A, and he said that even before this goal, he got a lot of racist abuse from the Italian players. The day after the goal, the owner of the team, Perugia, cancelled his contract and said, "I have no intention of paying a salary to someone who has ruined Italian football."
That is begging for legal action.
Well, that's not the end of the story.
Oh.
Yeah.
Because then the chairman changes his mind and tries to re-sign Ahn, who says no. And just refuses to show up to pre-season training. But that means it's really hard for Perugia to sell him because that's putting off potential buyers. In the end, FIFA say that Ahn has to pay Perugia $3.5 million to compensate for the reduction in his transfer value that his actions had caused.
Oh, wow.
What?
Ahn was nicknamed Lord of the Ring because whenever he scored a goal, he kisses his wedding ring.
I mean, cute, but she didn't help.
He was a torchbearer at the opening of the 2018 Winter Olympics in Pyeongchang. He's now a TV personality in South Korea. My favourite thing on this podcast used to be crazy North American team names, but now we're in the era of Major League Soccer. There are not so many of those. Okay. But we are going into the era of crazy South Korean reality TV programmes.
Okay, great.
Yeah. Okay.
He is now a TV personality in South Korea and has appeared on shows such as Dad, Where Are We Going?
Dad, where are we going?
Please take care of my refrigerator. 1% of friendship. National Bang Bang Cook Cook.
Ooh.
Which was my nickname in prison. Neighbourhood Billiards. And Hole in One Between Legends. And that's very much the edited highlights of his TV credit list, which goes on and on and on and on. But sadly, no monkey tennis. So Italy are out, which means the end of Paolo Maldini. It's his 4th World Cup In 2017, along with Stefano Landonio, he entered the Aspera Tennis Cup doubles in Milan on the ATP Challenger Tour.
He must have been pretty good.
Yeah, they lost 6-1, 6-1.
All right.
So they got one game.
He runs a fashion label with Christian Vieri called Sweet Years.
Terrible name. Wow.
Yeah. Francesco Coccu, their defender, appeared on Laila dei Famosi.
Lives of the Famous?
Italian Survivor, it is basically. But he left voluntarily a few days in. Christian Abbiati, their sub-goalkeeper, is a fascist. But then, Italy, most of them are now. So
Yeah.
It's a whole thing.
And Marco Del Vecchio, who came second on Italian Strictly in 2012 and ended up in a relationship with his dance partner.
Yeah, the Curtain Strictly is international.
I bet in Italy it's just every single couple. They're like, we're all together now.
We're a polyamorous throuple.
Christian Vieri came 5th and Gianni Rivero came 10th. Into the quarterfinals, England versus Brazil.
Oh boy.
It was weird because I had no hopes for this game, and then England stupidly gave me hope.
That's it. They always do that.
If you'd have said before the tournament, England are going to get knocked out by Brazil, but you go, yeah.
Yeah, fair, yeah.
Oh, we make it through the groups. Okay. And then they went and gave me stupid hope. And especially 5 minutes in when we went ahead.
And it was, I like, we've all been there. You get that thing where you're like, do I dare to dream?
Can't believe England took an early lead and then couldn't hold on to it.
Yeah.
I mean, that just came out of nowhere. John Motton is genuinely surprised and excited when Michael Owen scores.
He was doing all his breakfast quip.
Yeah, he starts saying something about sizzling sausages for some reason.
Great.
And he scored! Michael Owen against Brazil in the World Cup. Michael Owen and England sizzling in the heat of Shizuoka. And after this, the sausages will be sizzling back home, I should think.
But anyway, nothing can go wrong now.
Yeah, exactly. They've taken an early lead. You've got to do that. You've got to make your mark on the game and then just hold it.
It's a really nice goal as well. And then literally just before half time, isn't it? The Brazil equaliser.
Yes.
And
Paul Scholes gives the ball away.
It's on the edge of byline and it could just be knocked out for a throw-in, and they don't. And I remember sitting there going, you'd hate it if this led to a goal because it's such an easy just knock out for a throw-in, wastes a minute more and then it's half-time. Ronaldinho just goes through midfield and defence without having a finger laid on him, and then selflessly gives the ball to Rivaldo to smash past Seaman.
Rivaldo, who then takes his shirt off and is not booked.
Like, my brain couldn't quite comprehend when he takes his shirt off. So he takes his shirt off, because he's wearing a Brazil away shirt, he takes his shirt off and then he's got a yellow undershirt on. And my brain just went, that doesn't work.
So it's 1-1 at half-time, and I think everyone in England then went, oh well, been here before. They scored just before half-time. Psychologically damaging time to concede a goal.
Yeah.
But this is different because we've got Sven-Goran Eriksson, the mastermind of Munich.
Sven. I was already in my A-level exam at this point, daring to dream. I was like, when I come out of here in 2 hours, maybe England will have been put through to the semi-finals.
That doesn't happen though, does it? Because
it
of
didn't.
old Jar Jar Binks there. Ronaldinho gets a free kick. And what happens here?
Oh, and Seaman's been beaten. It's a goal. It's Ronaldinho.
It's weird because it's not a speculative shot. Or is it? Is it a shot?
Did he mean it?
He lofts it into the box over Seaman, who has come out to defend the sort of area, and just completely lobs him.
But then Ronaldinho gets sent off.
Yeah.
So we could bring it back because they're down to 10.
Exactly. I was in a pub that had opened especially early
Oh,
to
God.
show this game.
It really was like 8 in the morning, wasn't it? These matches were insane. Yeah.
And when Ronaldinho got sent off, everyone in the pub started singing cheerio, cheerio, cheerio. And the woman who owned the pub came out of the kitchen with loads of boxes of Cheerios. I thought it was a lovely visual joke.
That's very cute.
Yeah, he gets sent off quite early as well. It's 58 minutes. Like, there's a whole sort of half hour that they can capitalise on this and fail to do so in any way.
And of course, England, Steve McManaman had just won the Champions League with Real Madrid. Oh no, Sven didn't take him to the World Cup.
Right, I see.
Oh,
yeah.
Joe Cole is on the bench. Young, exciting Joe Cole. He could. Oh, no, he doesn't put him on either. No, he puts on Kieran Dyer.
His name's Dyer.
Yeah.
Read the room, Sven.
Yeah, he didn't put on Fowler as well. He was a reasonable bit of business. Puts on Darius Vassell.
Yeah. Oh, shit. Hell, you ain't seen nothing like Darius Vassell. Yeah, he gets on. Funny enough, he brings on Kieran Dyer a minute before Ronaldinho is sent off.
No.
Oh, right.
And then he brings on Darius Vassell and Teddy Sheringham with 10 minutes to go, but takes off Michael Owen to do that. One anonymous England defender said, "We needed Churchill, we got Ian Duncan Smith."
God. Well, that's damning. That gets more damning over time.
Yeah, also a good way to sort of absolve yourself of any responsibility.
Yeah.
The speed wasn't good enough. All right.
You could have G'd yourself up for a World Cup quarter-final against Brazil, mate.
Never paid that much attention to this match in that I wasn't there to watch it and I never watched the highlights. So I just know the score and I sort of know what happened. I know that they were down to 10 men, but it's never really occurred to me that England did throw it away a little bit. Because on paper, not expected to win the match, so fair enough, go out to Brazil. But like you say, this could have been different.
I mean, that's the story of England at the World Cup since 1966. It could have been so different.
Could have been so different. We like to single ourselves out as, we always waste every opportunity. It must be, every country must have World Cups like that.
Yeah. Well, I mean, like Mexico, we're cursed. We will never get past the last 16. You're like, yeah, but you get to the last 16 every time. So, like, take that as a nice thing. You've reached 5 in a row. It's pretty nice.
Italy didn't win the World Cup in the 90s, but they only ever lost one game. It was a group game to Ireland.
Wow.
So, they had loads of bad luck and all. Do you think Sven's reluctance had anything to do with the fact that since early 2002 he'd been having an affair with Ulrika Johnson?
I remember that story. It was nuts, wasn't it?
Was that because they were the only 2 Swedish people in London?
It does feel like it's something like that was going on, yeah.
Bizarrely, in 2009, Sven-Goran Eriksson was appointed Director of Football at
Notts County.
It turned out, though, it was all a massive scam. So in the end, he had to waive a multi-million payoff in order to facilitate a takeover to a real owner. There's a documentary on BBC Sounds all about it. I recommend it. The goalkeeper, David Seaman, who at the end of the game cries.
Oh, is this the match where he cries at the end? Right. Did he think maybe it was one of his last matches as an England goalie? I don't know.
It was. He came fourth on Dancing on Ice. His third wife is one of the ice dancers. He cut his ponytail off for charity, which ended the chance of being sponsored by L'Oreal. I reckon he is in the current series of The Masked Dancer.
Oh,
but that remains to be seen. Speaking of masked performances, Teddy Sheringham, or Tree, from Series 1 of The Masked Singer, he's still in the squad. He's the oldest outfield player in the Premier League at 40 years, 272 days. And 4 days earlier, he'd been the oldest goal scorer.
He and Andy Cole had an amazing strike partnership at Man United whilst not speaking. And not because they were like telepathically linked. They did not get on.
I hated each other, right.
Hated each other. And it was because they'd gone to it had been an England friendly. One had been subbed off for the other. Andy Cole went to give a handshake or like a high five. Teddy Sheringham blanked him and they didn't speak again for 5 years.
That's insane, right.
The punishment for leaving a brother hanging is just, no.
Who had the number 9 shirt in the England squad in this tournament?
Owen? No.
Robbie Fowler.
And then didn't really play, did he?
Nope. He supported the Docker strike in 1997 and then went on to buy all the houses in Liverpool.
Yeah, and Man City fans, when he'd gone to Man City, all sang to the tune of Yellow Submarine, "We all live in a Robbie Fowler house, a Robbie Fowler house."
Trevor Sinclair is in not only the England squad, but the England first 11 in this World Cup, which kind of came out of nowhere. But incredibly, it turns out putting an actual left-footed player on the left instead of Paul Scholes was a good idea and made England look good. And he is, of course, the scorer of the best overhead kick in the history of football. Wayne Bridge is in the squad. He came 5th on I'm a Celebrity in 2006, won 2019 celebrity SAS Who Dares wins and is married to Frankie Sanford off of the Saturdays.
Wayne Bridge played something daft like every minute of every Southampton game for about 2 years.
Why would he do a thing like that? I remember there was the thing of we had Wayne Bridge and Ashley Cole as left backs, and it's like, which one do you play? And then Chelsea signed both of them just so they could have the same problem. Darius Vassell, whose autobiography, The Road to Persia, is called that because Persia is the name of his daughter.
Oh,
That's nice.
that's nice, but it does require quite a lot of context.
You get to 5 pages from the end and everyone who reading it goes,
Get it.
When does he get into Iran?
yeah.
The comedian Karen Bailey was one of his teachers at primary school. Kieran Dyer, we mentioned, came fourth on I'm a Celebrity in 2015, donated his fee to charity, had to withdraw from SAS Who Dares Wins in 2021 because he had a
No.
collapsed lung.
No, God, that is a good reason.
Once had a fight with Lee Boyer when they were both playing for Newcastle.
There was a bit where he just goes, "Why aren't you passing to me?" And the other goes, "'Cause you're shit." And they just fight and both get sent off.
I remember that because it was against Villa and we won the game. So England are out. It's like 10:30 in the morning. The whole nation is depressed. So to cheer us up, Germany play the USA in a game where, I don't know, we support the referee.
Yeah, right, yeah.
It's actually a really good game. I watched
it?
the highlights of it. And the US are unlucky not to win. They have loads of chances, but the best player on the park is Oliver Kahn, the German goalkeeper. Michael Ballack scores the only goal of the game in the first half, which means the Americans are out, but it's their best World Cup since 1930.
In 94, did they not even make it to the quarters in 94?
Second round. Michael Ballack was born in East Germany. Of course, now Germany is reunified. And he started his youth career playing for a team called FC Karl Marx-Stadt, who, Sooz, I believe you're a big fan of.
Yeah, they're my favourite. Up the workers.
The second half, Torsten Frings handles on the line to prevent a goal, but nothing is given. And Claudio Reyna nearly scores from about 40 yards as well. So the USA are quite unlucky not to get anything out of this game. And in the days of VAR, they definitely had a penalty, at least. I've got an amazing fact about Torsten Frings. Gus Fring from the Breaking Bad cinematic universe is named after Torsten Frings.
Ah,
The US were coached by Bruce Arena.
that's such an American coach name.
Yeah, it's the name of Australia's biggest stadium. He started his managerial career at Puget Sound Loggers. Kobe Jones playing in his third World Cup, the most capped American of all time with 164. Joe Max Moore, who has a non-alcoholic cocktail named after him. The recipe is half Sprite, half Orange Fanta. Turns out my kids have been drinking that at every buffet for the last 10 years anyway.
That's barely a cocktail. I think you need a third ingredient. Just or a garnish. Make that a...
Frankie Hayduck, who is sadly not from Derbyshire. He was a junior surfing champion, and he'd celebrate goals by trying to dance like Bob Marley, of whom he was a big fan.
Okay.
I mean, do a surfing celebration. That's like a really easy one that's not cultural appropriation.
And now we get to Spain against South Korea, and this is the game where
Yeah.
South Korea have all the luck.
I remember this is the worst I've felt about penalties other than when it's England, if that makes sense. I remember sitting watching the penalties and going, oh, no.
Spain have a lot of chances and have 2 goals disallowed for very questionable reasons.
Right.
Yeah.
One in the second half for non-existent shirt pulling,
Oh.
and one in extra time, which would have been a golden goal, when the ball is wrongly considered to have crossed the touchline before it's crossed in for Morientes to score. Morientes also hits the post in this game. And it does. It goes to penalties. And in the penalty shootout, Lee Won-jae is about 3 miles off his line when he saves from Joaquin. He might as well just come and stand right in front of him. Ivan Helguera said, "What happened here was robbery. Everyone saw 2 perfectly good goals. If Spain didn't win, it's because they didn't want us to win. I feel terrible about this game." The stadium that this game takes place in Gwangju, is now named after the then South Korean manager Gus Hiddink. So yeah, Spain have got a genuine, legitimate right to be outraged about this, but it's the Italians who ming on about
Right.
the
Well,
second round game.
it's funny, when you were talking about that second round game, I was going, oh, so maybe actually South Korea did just have a magic run through the, and then I was like, oh, okay, no, because I remember my mum kicking off about this game when we were watching it. She was going, this is ridiculous. I just remember this really well. I remember the penalties being really depressing. Like, no, this is not right.
Spanish squad included Albert Luque, whose Porsche once got a puncture on his way to Newcastle Airport. So he got out of the car to make a telephone call, presumably to like the breakdown people. And while he's out the car, a lorry drives into the car and completely destroys it.
Oh!
Whoa.
I mean, that's one way to not have to deal with a puncture.
There's a sort of Final Destination theme to a bit of this World Cup, isn't there? A golden goal from substitute Ilhan Manziz gives Turkey the win over Senegal. Manziz won the second series of Turkish Dancing on Ice. And then, this is genuinely true, set his sights on competing at the 2014 Winter Olympics.
Oh, bless him. He was like, there's never been an ice skater from this nation.
He's won Dancing on Ice, and he's then going out with the figure skater that he was paired with.
Sure.
So they try and get to the Winter Olympics. And so they enter the last qualifying event that you can enter, and they come last.
Of course, because you're just from a TV reality show. It's really annoying when you watch stuff like Strictly and then people go, and, you know, they're as good as a professional. Like, no, they're not. They're obviously not as good as a professional dancer or a professional ice skater. Come on.
A MasterChef celebrity does not give you a right to own a restaurant.
Yeah. I'm sure you make a beautiful meal. I'm sure you dance a lovely tango, but you're not as good as a professional, obviously.
So Senegal are out. They could have been the first African semi-finalists, but they're not. Only the
It
quarters.
was the first time that 5 continents were in the last 16.
Oh, interesting, right.
Hit the bell, James.
Just did. Senegal squad features Omar Daf, whose brother Leland ran a cup competition in the 90s. Aliou Cisse, the current coach of Senegal, is in the squad. He lost 7 relatives in the Le Hula ferry disaster of September 2002, in which more people died than aboard the Titanic.
And yeah, this is the first time I'm hearing of it.
Yep.
That's insane.
Well,
Wow.
because it happened in Africa.
I know.
Yeah.
There isn't a film about it.
What a world.
And El Hadji Diouf.
Yeah, Liverpool signed about 3 of the Senegal players. El Hadji Diouf was one of them. Even as a fan at the time, you're supposed to be like, oh, yeah. But he always just seemed like a dirty player.
Continuing our recurring theme, he liked to spit. He spat at Celtic fans, an 11-year-old Middlesbrough fan, and in the face of Arjan Dazouи, he is now a government goodwill ambassador. He's putting that spit to good use. Into the semi-finals, which, I mean, by this point, we all know what the final's going to be, because the semi-finals are Germany, South Korea, and Brazil versus Turkey.
Yeah, this is a World Cup that really petered out.
Honourable mention to Michael Ballack, though, in the Germany-South Korea game. He gets a second booking, which will keep him out of the final.
Oh.
And he's very much their best player.
Right.
And 4 minutes later, he scores the only goal of the game.
God,
He doesn't cry and wear fake plastic boobs on the flight home. He just gets on with it.
So why was this match only 1-0?
Because no other goals were scored.
Yeah. But did Germany put in a poor showing? Was there more shenanigans?
It's not a classic German team.
Right.
I mean, they had been beaten 5-1 by England of all
Yes,
teams.
that's true.
Qualifying. Germany have got to the final, and their group was Ireland, Cameroon, and Saudi Arabia.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Mm.
And then they've beaten Paraguay,
Yeah.
the USA, and South Korea.
God, no one ever talks about like lucky runs to the World Cup final for Germany, do they? But here's one, right? Okay.
Yeah. They don't play anyone. South Korea have had to play Spain and Italy.
Yeah.
And, they had a lot of luck, but
Shenanigans. But yes, yeah.
In a rematch of a group game, Ronaldo scores the only goal as Brazil beat Turkey, a game that I rang in sick so that I could stay at home and watch. It seemed like a waste of time. So it is. It's a Germany-Brazil final, the first time they ever play each other at the World Cup.
Wow.
Hey,
They never met at the World Cup before.
how bizarre, right?
In the third place playoff, Hakan Suka scores the fastest World Cup goal of all time. 9 seconds.
Whoa.
So Daegu is ready for an emotional farewell to the Korean team who play in this third place playoff. Hong Myung-bo's in trouble here. It's Hakan Suka! It's one of the early World Cup goals of all time.
Yep.
So he scored in 0 minutes.
Yes. And then 2 more from Ilhan sees Turkey win 3-2. Their best ever World Cup finish of the 2 times they've ever qualified for the World Cup. And they never qualify again.
I remember reading a book. It was called Why England Lose, and it was a book of like stats and soccernomics, which would have come out about 2006.
Mhm.
And it was 2 sort of people who'd done all of the maths and all the things who said that Turkey would be the next winner, would win a World Cup very soon, because they've got all of the things. They've got a big capital, and it's got like 3 massive teams, and it's got 13 million people. And yep, sooner or later, Turkey are going to win the World Cup. And then they haven't qualified since that book was written.
Right. It's almost as if you can't base football on numbers and...
Yeah.
The South Korean squad featured Lee Dong-gook, their striker, nicknamed Lazy Genius.
Aren't we all?
In 23 Premier League games for Middlesbrough, he scored 0.
So where was the genius bit?
He appeared on the South Korean reality show The Return of Superman, where famous Korean fathers have to take care of their children for 48 hours without their wife.
Imagine. Barely worth mentioning, is it? I had to look after my kids for 2 days.
It turns out I'm a Superman. And have been for 10 years, you know. It was a very different time when that show ran, because that show ran between 2015 and 2019.
Oh my God.
He also has appeared on the shows King of Golf, Healing Camp, Aren't You Happy?
No, I've got to take care of my kids for 2 days.
Star's Top Recipe at Funsteront.
Which is just MasterChef, but they've made it interesting.
Funsteront.
Don't just go to a restaurant, go to a Funsteront.
Funsteront. Chuck E. Cheese.
Comfortable Cafe and Follow Daddy.
That sounds like just a spin-off of the 48 hours looking after your kids one.
Yeah, so there you go. It's my new favourite thing, South Korean reality TV show.
That's brilliant. Yeah, yeah.
The Turkey squad featured Alpay Özalan of Aston Villa. He plays really well in this World Cup, which means his time at Aston Villa doesn't end well. Because bigger clubs want to sign him, but the then Villa manager, Graham Taylor, won't let him leave.
Okay.
Which means the player gets frozen out. Eventually, he comes back to play for Villa, but he's booed by the fans. And then he scores a goal, and he does the old fingers on lips to the fans thing, which never wins them over. So he gets frozen out again. Then, in a Euros qualifier against England, he prods David Beckham's face after Beckham had missed a penalty, and that sparks a mass brawl in the tunnel.
Oh, wow. Why don't I know about this? That's amazing. And honestly, I can see why. What a dick.
Yeah.
Poke you in the face.
So then Villa terminate his contract, and then he moves to South Korea.
And started one of the reality TV shows.
Now he is a member of the Grand National Assembly of Turkey for the Conservative Democrats.
Oh, God.
And in 2021, he was involved in a brawl in the Turkish parliament.
We need to have more brawls in parliaments. Remember when Lloyd Russell Moy picked up the mace and swung it around, and everyone goes crazy about that happening? That should be like a minor occurrence. We need more brawls in British Parliament.
There's two guy who played for Blackburn. When he was a kid, he raced Formula 3.
What's that, like soapbox derby? That does.
Yeah, what's Formula 3? I know Formula 4.
Two steps down below Formula 1.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then there are the players Arif Erdem, Hakan Suker, and Ömer Kacic, who were all involved in some way with the failed coup of 2016.
Oh, God, yeah, I remember that.
Erdem has to flee Turkey due to his links to the Gulen movement. Hakan Suker, nicknamed the Bull of the Bosphorus, he'd been elected as an MP for the Conservative Democrats, but he resigned from the party 2 years later to be independent. And in 2016, he insulted Erdogan on Twitter, and so a warrant was issued for his arrest. And he is now exiled. I mean, it's on his Wikipedia page, so I don't think I'm giving the Turkish government any information they don't already know. He is an Uber driver in San Francisco.
It makes me want to go to San Francisco and get an Uber on the off chance of meeting Hakan Suker.
Yeah, he scored the fastest World Cup goal of all time. I wonder if he drives as quick. Ömer Kacic was imprisoned for 27 months after the failed coup. The final, which is meh.
Nah. So often are.
Who referees the final?
Is this last match for that bald guy?
Yeah.
Is it his last ever match?
It's not his last ever match, but he does referee the final.
liked him. I liked that advert he did. Do you remember where he was just making note? Oh, it's good.
He did a load of adverts.
Yeah, he was funny.
He was a great referee, but also just a really distinctive looking one.
Yes.
I think he was the only non-player to be a cover of a football game because he was on one of the Pro Evos.
He would be referee of the year 6 years running, and he's the current head of FIFA's refereeing committee.
Mm-hmm.
He has alopecia and the nickname Kojak. He had refereed the 99 Champions League final when Man U won, and also had refereed England 5, Germany 1. Both games where Oliver Kahn had been on the losing team. His final game was a Champions League qualifier in 2005 between Everton and Villarreal. He's been in loads of adverts, and a cartoon of him is in the George Michael video for Shoot the Dog. He pissed off Luciano Moggi, the executive of Juventus, for being too objective. Also, Philip Sharp is running the line, and Hugh Dallas is the fourth official. So, British representation in the fun. Brazil win 2-0, 2 second-half goals from Ronaldo, which means he finishes the World Cup with 8 goals. He is the top scorer. That is the most since Gerd Muller in 1970. Ronaldo, nicknamed O Fenomeno, winner of the Ballon d'Or in 1997. The only team he doesn't score against in this World Cup?
England.
Yeah.
So we won the World Cup, basically.
Yeah, really. That's the real World Cup, is to not have Ronaldo scoring against you.
Yeah.
He appears in the 2007 episode of The Simpsons called Marge Gamer.
It's not a good one.
If it came after about 1999, then... Oh.
For the first goal that he scores, Oliver Kahn, who had won Player of the Tournament, and wins a poison chalice. He'd been brilliant all World Cup. He spills a Rivaldo shot and Ronaldo taps it in. And that means Brazil have won their record 5th World Cup title, a record that stands to this day. Oliver Kahn, playing in the third of his 4 World Cups, is voted player of the tournament, the first and only goalkeeper to do so. He is nicknamed Der Titan and Volcano.
Oh, what's volcano mean?
Well, it's volcano with...
Oh, volcano, of course, right. Okay, I was thinking Vulcan.
The German band Die Prinzen released a song called Olli Kahn.
Doch lässt keinen an sich ran und dieser Mann heißt Olli Kahn.
In 2009, he was a judge on the Chinese reality show called Never Give Up that wanted to find China's best young goalkeeper.
Oh, wow, they really went for it, trying to get like a footballing thing going in China, didn't they? If they were turning all those schools into academies, they had a reality show looking for a decent goalie. I mean, they gave it their all.
Oliver Kahn, when they had a thing where it was like halftime entertainment at some game, children are taking penalties against Oliver Kahn, and for everyone that goes in, money gets donated to an orphanage.
Oh.
And there were 9 penalties. Sooz, how many of them went in?
Well, surely like none.
Yeah, Oliver Kahn did not let a single penalty in.
What an arsehole.
He hates orphanages.
That's like that competitive dad sketch in the Fast Show.
Also in the German squad, Didi Hamann, the last player to score at the Old Wembley. His autobiography is called The Didi Man, My Love Affair with Liverpool.
Unless his love affair with Liverpool also is for a love affair with the work of Ken Dodd.
Well, it could be. It could be a Ken Dodd reference.
People love Ken Dodd, don't they?
Carsten Ramelow, defensive midfielder, released an album in 2005, but it was only for close family and friends, so I can't get a copy of it. Let's talk about this Brazil squad, coached by Big Phil, Luiz Felipe Scolari, who supports Nottingham Forest. Just loads of brilliant players in the squad. Also Roberto Carlos, El Hombre Bala, the Bullet Man. In 2022, he turned out for Bull in the Barn United, an English Sunday League pub team who'd won him in a raffle.
It's like one of those churned up ploughed field Sunday League pitches. But there's loads of people who were like, oh, he wasn't even the best player on the pitch.
He might not have been giving it 110%.
He scored, but they lose 4-3. He has 11 children with 7 different women.
Busy boy.
At age 44, he became a grandfather, which is how old my granddad was when I was born, so I can't speak.
Yeah, my nana was that age when I was born.
Cafu, the only player to play in 3 consecutive World Cup finals, nicknamed Il Pendolino.
Because he was a Virgin train.
Well, it just means the express train. That's what
Oh, right.
Okay, right.
but that makes more sense.
He won a record 15 matches at World Cups, plus 2 on penalties. The record is broken in 2014 by Miroslav Klose. Rivaldo, the Gary Wilmot lookalike, and Ballon d'Or winner of 1999, who almost signed for Bolton once.
Wouldn't life be so different if Bolton had had Rivaldo?
That sounds like should be a half man, half biscuit song. Gilberto Silva, who goes on to play for Arsenal. He can play the mandolin and has a giant anteater named after him at London Zoo, who Gilberto Silva calls my slightly more hairy brother. Ronaldinho, which of course means little Ronaldo. At age 13, he scored all 23 goals in a 23-0 win against the local team.
That's nice.
He was a supporter of Bolsonaro in 2018.
Less nice.
He won the Ballon d'Or in 2005. He signed a deal with Coca-Cola in 2011 that was terminated in 2012 when he drank Pepsi at a news conference. Get the press together. I'm drinking a Pepsi.
And yet Gary Lineker has never eaten Golden Wonders.
Was fined 6 million real for building an illegal fishing platform. He didn't pay the fine, so he had his passport suspended and 57 properties confiscated.
Blimey.
How big is this fishing platform?
So he's got no passport, so he gets a fake passport to go to Paraguay, and then he's arrested for using a fake passport. So he goes to jail.
Oh, and while he's in jail, doesn't he play football?
He plays in a futsal tournament, but he's released from jail after paying a $200,000 fine. Their midfielder, Vampeta is a cross between Vampiro, meaning vampire, and Capetta, meaning devil. Proper death metal player.
Yeah.
And on the other hand, there's Kaká, who belongs to Jesus. Yeah, he wore a T-shirt that said, I belong to Jesus, which must have pissed off AC Milan, who actually owned him at that point. He won the Ballon d'Or in 2007. Kaká is short for Ricardo. When he was 18, he suffered a career-threatening and possibly paralysis-inducing spinal fracture, but he made a full recovery, and he attributes his recovery to God and has since tithed his income to a church.
Mate, it was medicine.
They would have helped, yeah.
Yeah.
Brazil are the first and only team to win 7 games at a World Cup. They have a 100% record, and from the quarterfinals on, there was never any doubt in anyone's mind that they were going to win it.
Yeah.
It was literally England were the only team that really gave them any trouble.
All the major European nations, apart from Germany, have all bottled it or were too knackered. Because at that point, the Champions League had 2 group stages.
If we've learned anything from this podcast, it is that 2 group stages are stupid.
And UEFA get rid of that, mainly due to what happens in this World Cup. It doesn't quite work, because a load of the Brazilian players also played in the Champions League. It didn't seem to affect them. But so many teams massively underperform at this World Cup, and you end up with South Korea and Turkey in the semi-finals. And good for them, really. They took advantage of France and Portugal and Argentina and Spain and Italy not really bothering. Time then to rank the 2002 World Cup in our leaderboard of the World Cup of World Cups, currently being led by 1986 in Mexico with 8.19. First time ever, 2 hosts, Japan and South Korea. What do you make of them?
Some of the fan culture out there is really fun. It looked cool, and most of the stadiums are really cool.
None of the countries were terribly homophobic. Their human rights records weren't horrific.
Match fixing for the hosts, probably.
Or was it just bad refereeing?
It sounds like that Spain match was nuts.
South Korea getting all the way that they did, Turkey getting all the way that they did, Argentina going out in the groups, Spain, Italy being knocked out when they were. There's a fair amount of shocks, actually.
USA knocking out Portugal.
It sounds like Germany getting as far as they did with the slightly lacklustre side that they were sporting at the time. Well, England scoring first in that Brazil game, that must have been a big shock. I remember it was.
There are a couple of fun games. Senegal, Uruguay, 3-3. That was fun. And there was a couple of iconic games. Senegal beating France.
Senegal beating France was just great because it was so funny.
I mean, South Korea, Italy is memorable, if nothing else.
England, Argentina, I'm going to go for that. It's one of the most memorable things I've ever witnessed in football.
Yeah.
There's no iconic game, no iconic goal in this tournament. I think that's where it really falls down. The worthiness of champions Brazil, bearing in mind they won every single game, which very rarely happens, and they're the only team ever to win 7 games at a World Cup.
I think they would stack up against other World Cup winners.
I feel like they were pretty unstoppable, and so how can you not give them a 10? A juggernaut of a team.
It's not their fault, they're the only ones who showed up.
England did well to a certain point and then just absolutely slammed on the brakes.
Things like the Denmark game and the Argentina game were great, and when that goal first went in the Brazil game, It ruined me for my English A-level exam.
There was a lot of South Korean and Japanese players who then came over to the Premiership. Half the Senegal team, a fair few of the Turkish team came over. I think manga became probably a bit more popular.
I feel like people were quite into the Far East. That feels like quite a 90s thing, the technology, Harajuku fashion. So I feel like that was already part of the wider cultural impact.
Okay, and finally, entertainment value. Got some stats for you here. There were 2.52 goals per game, which is down 0.15 from 1998. There were 3 0-0s, 15 1-0s, and no dead rubbers.
On an average, most of the games were quite entertaining because I watched most of them.
I think once you get past the quarter-final stage, it was a less entertaining World Cup.
I can reveal the score for the 2002 World Cup in South Korea and Japan is 6.38.
Oh, that feels about right.
That puts it in 11th place in our World Cup of World Cups leaderboard, behind Italia 90, but ahead of 1974 in West Germany. Sooz, thank you so much for being our guest on
Thanks
the World
for
Cup of
having
World
me.
Cups. Where can people find out about you, please?
Check me out on Twitter, twitter.com/SOOZUK for various things. You'll probably find me going berserk during the World Cup this December.
And you've got loads of sketches and stuff on there, haven't you? And
I do a lot of content where I dress up as various politicians, stand in front of a green screen and say things that are a bit like what they're saying, but you'll feel smart by watching them. I'm not doing anything clever, but you'll feel like I am.
A teaser for you to think about until the next episode. Miroslav Klose goes on to be the third player to score in 4 World Cups after Pele and Uwe Seeler. Who'd become the fourth? I'll give you the answer to that at the start of the next episode. When the Empire strikes back, there'll be winks, headbutts, and more yellow cards than a sunflower's birthday as we go to Germany for the 2006 World Cup. Thank you so much for downloading and listening to the World Cup of World Cups podcast. You can email us at worldcupofworldcups@gmail.com. You can support us at ko-fi.com/worldcupofworldcups. I'm on Twitter at James E. Cook.
I'm at Comedy Savage.
Oh, I'm at Sooz UK. Sorry, I thought I'd done it already.
Until next time, sayonara.
Konnichiwa.
Bye.